familiar sight greeted me when I opened my eyes. It was the ceiling of my bedroom. What am I doing here? Desperately, I poured through my muddled memories. I was supposed to be in the middle of a raiding game match between the Prez and Riser. The battlefield had been a replica of Kuo Academy. The old school building had been our headquarters. And I'd been in the middle of assault against the enemy team's headquarters and the new school building, along with Kiba and Konako. Konako had fallen first, followed by Akano and Kiba, and then it all came flooding back to me. What happened to Rias? What about the match? How did it end? Did we beat Riser? Why am I here? I sat up in my bed. "You're awake," came a woman's voice beside me. It was a silver-haired maid, Graia. Graia, what happened? Is Rias alright? Lord Riser won the match. Lady Rias resigned. That's... I was speechless. No words could have described how I was feeling. So Riser really beat me? I felt like a disgrace. I had acted so high and mighty, but when it came down to it, I let myself get beaten to a pulp in front of Rias. Why am I so weak? Azia would have been able to live a normal life, if not for my complete and utter uselessness. Maybe if I made a better use of my sacred gear, Rias wouldn't have ended up having to... I couldn't stop myself from crying. Even with Graia sitting next to me, I was bawling openly. I felt disgusted with myself. Lord Riser and Lady Rias' engagement party is taking place as we speak. It is being held at a venue chosen by the House of Gremory in the Demon Realm. What about Kiba and the others? They are escorting Lady Rias. The only members of a familia not in attendance are yourself and Miss Azia. Azia? She isn't going either? Lady Rias asked that she remain here to take care of you, Master Issei. She is currently downstairs fetching a fresh towel for you. Evidently, the Prez had assigned Azia to watch over me. The little nun must have been pretty worried for me. Prez, engagement, they're in the middle of a celebration? Am I correct in assuming that you won't accept the situation? Graia asked. Yeah, even with how the match ended, I can't just let this happen. You understand that Lady Rias is acting in accordance with her family's wishes? Of course I know that, but still, no matter how I tried, I couldn't find myself to agree with something I knew Rias was opposed to. I didn't want to see her marrying that bastard against her will, just because her parents told her to. There was no way I was going to let Riser have Rias. I knew what this was. Jealousy. I was overwhelmed with feelings of envy for that damn roast chicken. Giving Rias to someone like him went against everything I stood for. At that moment, Graia let out a gentle chuckle. It was my first time seeing her smile. Previously, she had seemed so distant and composed. You're an interesting one. I met a great many demons over the years, but I've never seen someone so fervently dedicated to their beliefs as you. My master, Lord Serzax, was watching your performance during the match. He was quite impressed. Seriously? I had impressed one of the Demon Kings? Hearing that Rias' brother, the Demon King Lucifer, had taken such an interest in me, left me at a loss as to how best to reply. Graia reached into a pocket to produce a piece of paper with a magic circle printed on it. This will take you straight to the venue of the engagement party. Why does she have something like that? Lord Serzax has a message for you. Graia paused for a second, and her expression turned dire. If you wish to save my sister, force your way into that hall. Those were his last words. There's another magic circle on the other side of the paper. Use it once you located Lady Rias. I'm sure you'll find it helpful. No words were coming to me. Graia placed the card on my hand and rose to leave. I sensed a tremendous power lurking inside you when you were sleeping, Master Issei. A dragon is the only kind of being associated not with God, nor with demons, nor with the fallen angels. If that terrible power lurks within you, Her words trailed off there, and she left the room. I was alone, but there was nothing that needed thinking over. I got out of bed and rummaged around for something to wear, only to find a brand new uniform folded up neatly on my desk. The last one had been torn to shreds during the battle. Had someone prepared a fresh one? Graia, Rias, whoever it was, I was grateful. I quickly put on my clothes, then grabbed the scrap with the magic circle on it. At that moment, my bedroom door swung open, and Azia entered the room. Issei? The moment she saw me, the towel and the bucket that she had been holding in her hands fell to the floor. Immediately after that, she jumped right into my arms. Whoa, Azia, what's wrong? Having her come to me like that so suddenly was pretty embarrassing. I'm glad you're alright. Your wounds were so severe that you didn't wake up for 2 days. I was so worried. I was worried you might never open your eyes again, Issei. Still holding me tightly, she began to weep. I made her cry again. I patted her softly on the head, trying to get her to relax. Hold on, I've been asleep for 2 days? It's been that long since the match? What have I been doing this whole time? I can't afford to slack off at a time like this. Azia, listen to me. I'm going to find the Prez. Azia was so clearly shocked by what I said. She no doubt suspected what I planned to do. You're not going to join the celebrations, are you? No. I'm going to bring her back. Don't worry. I have a way of getting there. I'm going too, she said without a moment's hesitation. Her expression was grave. She meant it. You can't. I need you to stay here. No. I can fight with you, Issei. I've learned how to use my powers. I'm sick of just having others take care of me. I need to give something in return. Azia grabbed my hands. It almost sounded like she was trying to say that she didn't want to leave my side, but I knew that couldn't have been it. No, you need to stay here. I'll bring her back. See, this is the kind of thing the boosted gear was made for. Don't worry. It'll be alright. I'll beat Riser to a pulp and then... It won't be alright, Azia cried. Tears streamed down her beautiful green eyes. You'll get hurt again. Bloody, broken, all that pain. I don't want you to suffer again, Issei. I had been badly injured in my fight with the fallen angel back when I had gone to rescue her from the group of exorcists, and that same had happened during the last fight with Riser. Both times, I would have probably died if Azia hadn't healed me. I could vividly remember her crying over my body as she treated my wounds. No doubt I was going to give her further cause to weep in days and weeks to come. That much was fairly clear. Putting on a wide smile, I took her hand in mine. I'm not going to die, I promise. I didn't die when I went to save you, did I? That's why it will be okay. I'll live, and I'll come back to you, and we'll have so many more good times together. Wiping away her tears, Azia gave me a slight nod. In that case, make me another promise too. Another promise? Make sure you bring the president back with you, she said with a warm smile. Ah, of course, I answered. At this, Azia's expression deepened into one of pure joy. Right, I remembered there was something I had to tell her. Azia, actually... Once I began to explain the situation to her, she immediately nodded in agreement and went to her room to fetch what I needed. That done, the only thing left to do now was... I closed my eyes and that trusting entity that resided in me. Hey, are you listening? Come out. You're there, aren't you, Welsh Dragon Drake? We need to talk. Come out already. Not long after I summoned him, an eerie voice broke into laughter from somewhere inside me. What is it, kid? What do you need? Using the magic circle Graia had given me, I jumped into a strange and unfamiliar place. I'd been afraid that I wouldn't be able to warp properly since my poultry powers, but There had been something unique about the circle on this piece of paper. Glancing around, I saw that I was in a seamlessly endless corridor. Candlelight objects lined the walls, and in between them there was portraits of stately red-haired men. Relatives of Rias, perhaps? There was no time to dawdle. I could make out the sound of distant voices down the hall, so I need to set up in that direction. Before long, I came to a huge open doorway. There was some kind of intricate engraving on it. Upon closer inspection, it appeared to be some sort of demonic beast. I couldn't concern myself with that at that moment, however. Inside the hall, a great crowd of well-dressed demons were busy chatting and laughing with one another. It looked no different from the kind of event that high-class human social circles often held. Not that I ever been to one, but it fit my mental image like a glove. I scanned the faces of the crowd, looking to find one I recognized. The hall was gargantuan. It had to have been larger than even the grounds of my school. The ceiling was impressively high, and there was an incredible ornate, gigantic chandelier illuminating the room. So this is the venue organized by Rias' family, I thought. It must have been so nice to be as wealthy as they clearly were. I couldn't wait to get a peerage of my own and make a name for myself in this demon world. While lost in such thoughts, I noticed a burst of crimson from the corner of my eye. A woman with her brilliant crimson hair tied in an elegant coiffure. She was wearing a red dress. I recognized her at once. How could I not? Prez! Before I knew it, I had called out to her across the hall. Everyone around me turned in my direction, as did Rias herself. There was no mistaking the sight of her eyes opening wide in surprise as a solitary tear rounded down her cheek. Silently, she mouthed my name. That bastard Riser was standing next to her with a garish tuxedo. What did he think he was doing showing off in an outfit like that? I took a deep breath before declaring, all high-class demons here, and Rias' brother, Lord Demon King. I am Issei of the Occult Research Club at Kuo Academy, and I'm taking the Prez, Rias Gremory home. The hall broke out into hushed murmurs. Paying them no heed, I stormed toward Rias and Riser. Hey you, what do you think you're... I had caught the attention of someone who looked like a security guard, but then 3 more figures appeared to intercept them. Issei, leave this to us, Kiba said, dressed in a white tuxedo. You're late. Konako, her petite build garbed in an elegant dress, appeared next to him. Oh dear, so you finally showed up. Lastly, there was Akano, wearing an extravagant kimono. The 3 of them moved to intercept the guards who were coming my way. Thanks, I murmured as I approached Riser. Standing boldly before the jackass, I bluntly announced, Rias Gremory's virginity belongs to me. Riser's eyes twitched in a way that belied all description. What's going on, Riser? Lady Rias, what's the meaning of this? The relatives and acquaintances of both families appeared genuinely confused at this turn of events. It looked like high-class demons were no different than humans when it came to dealing with sudden surprises. This is my doing. At that moment, a red-haired man stepped forward. He was one of the figures whose portrait I seen in the corridor. His features were remarkably close to Rias's. Brother, Rias said. Hold on, is this her brother? In that case, he's the Demon King Serzex Lucifer? I wanted to see the power of the dragon for myself, so I had Graia help him. Lord Serzex, you can't just... Some middle-aged man, probably a relative of Rias and Serzex, was becoming incredibly flustered. What's the problem? I enjoyed watching the raiding game, although I couldn't help but feel a little bad for my younger sister. She was facing off with the mighty Riser, scion of the great Phoenix family, while she herself was completely lacking in combat experience. Lord Serzex, are you suggesting the match was unfair? No, not at all. If I was to say something like that, these 2 great houses would lose face. We must treasure the relations between high-class demon families after all. Sir Zex answered with a shrewd smile. Judging from what he was saying, it sounded like he was taking Rias aside. Then, what do you suggest, Lord Sir Zex? Asked a man with the same crimson hair. Crimson hair. Is this Rias' father? Father, may I propose we make my dear sister's engagement party into a livelier affair? A dragon versus a phoenix. Wouldn't that be a contest to behold? Two legendary creatures to lighten the mood. Could there be any greater entertainment? At this suggestion, everyone in the hall fell silent. Sir Zex turned towards me. Wielder of a dragon, you have my permission. Won't you show us that power once more, in the presence of Riser, Rias, and myself? Hearing this request, Riser broke out into a dauntless grin. Why not? I can't refuse Lord Sir Zex, can I? Then this shall be my final performance before settling down for married life. Overconfident bastard, I cursed. Still, with this, the stage was set. The only thing left was for me to emerge the victor. Surprisingly, the Demon King had another question for me, however. Wielder of the dragon, what would you ask should you win? Lord Sir Zex, what are you saying? The gathered demons all balked at Sir Zex's question, their voices panicked. Nonetheless, the Demon King paid no heed to the concerns around him. He is a demon after all. If we were to ask him to do something for us, we must be willing to offer him something in return. Wouldn't you say? So tell us. You can have anything you desire, a noble title of your own, the greatest beauty of the ages to live by your side. What an incredible offer. He was willing to give me everything I dreamed of, a place of nobility, a beautiful woman. With just one word, I could have it all. I had already decided what to ask for, though. Please let me take Ria's Grimoire back with me. I answered without the slightest hesitation. At this, the Demon King flashed a truly satisfied smile. Well then, should you win, you take her with you. Thus, it was decided that Riser and I would face off at that very venue. Thank you, I said with a bow of my head as Sir Zex disappeared towards the back of the hall. The guests cleared a space in the center of the room before gathering around to watch on with keen interest. Kiba, Konako, and Akano seated themselves with Rias and her family. Sir Zex, too, took a seat behind her. On the other side sat the members of the House of Phoenix, their relatives and their servants. Riser's sister, Ravel, was amongst them. Riser and I stood across from each other in the center of the hall. Judging by the layout, this must have been a demon fighting ring at one point. I had already activated my boosted gear. Riser's expression was one of relaxed confidence. You may begin, announced the male demon who had been selected to oversee the duel. This was it. There was really no turning back now. The only option was for me to win. Riser, his fiery wings spread, pointed toward my gauntlet. I already know all your tricks. The gauntlet of the Red Dragon Emperor is a sacred gear that continuously doubles its user's strength and power. That's all. I've heard you deployed a new technique for transferring your power to another, but it won't do any good for you now. It sounded like he already knew my boosted gear's gift move, but I'd already guessed that much. That gift technique was all the stronger when channeled through one of my allies. I glanced towards Rias, flashing her a determined grin. Prez, I'll settle this within 10 seconds. Issei. She raised a quizzical eyebrow. It's alright, Prez, I thought. Just watch. 10 seconds? You talk big. In that case, I'll finish you off in 5. I won't hold back this time, pawn. Riser Phoenix, I'm going to crush you with everything I have. Prez, let me use a promotion here. I called out. Rias nodded. There was a ringing in my chest. That was all I needed to know that she had given me permission to use it. Promotion, Queen. With that, I was now the strongest piece. I could feel my power flowing through my body. I was at my climax right from the start of the match. There was just one more thing to do. It's your turn, Red Dragon Emperor. Prez, I called out to Rias. I may not be a talented swordsman like Kiba, or an expert at using demonic powers like Akano. I might not have Konako's superhuman strength or Azia's healing ability, but I will be the mightiest of pawns. That much I knew I could swear. I'll take down God for you if I have to. With this boosted gear, my only weapon, I'll protect you. I'll protect her. I'm going to get stronger alongside my friends and allies. Burst, over boost.
Welsh Dragon, over booster.
The jewel embedded in the back of the gauntlet released a brilliant flash of red. That red illuminated the entire hall, and a deep crimson aura enveloped me. Instantly, a deluge of overwhelming power flooded my body.
Yeah, use it well, but only for 10 seconds. Your body won't endure any more than that.
Got it. That'll be more than enough.
Indeed. With 10 seconds.
Yeah, with 10 seconds.
We'll pulverize him.
With a brilliant burst of light, I lunged forward. A scarlet suit of armor appeared around me. It was a full-body set modeled after an image of a dragon. It had sharp, visceral appearance. A mirror of the gauntlet that I always wore on my left arm had appeared over my right one. Additionally, jewels like the embedded one on the back of the gauntlet were visible on my arms, shoulders, knees, and chest. Not only that, there was also a propulsion device like a rocket booster built on the back of the suit. Armor? You've used the power of the Red Dragon Emperor to shield yourself? Riser exclaimed in surprise. His assessment was on the mark. I probably did look like a miniature dragon. Even my face was concealed behind a plated helm. This is the power of the Red Dragon Emperor. Balance breaker. Boosted gear scale mail. If you want to stop me, ask Lord Demon King. It sounds like this is a famous, dreaded, forbidden technique. The scale mail ability released all the Sacred Gear's destructive potential in a 10-second burst. Once it was activated, I was practically invincible. Unfortunately, it also carried a considerable risk. Each time the ability was used, it rendered my Sacred Gear unusable for 3 whole days. The Dragon Drake had explained to me. Basically, this was an all-or-nothing maneuver. 10. The countdown had begun. Now that it had started, there was no time to waste. Let's settle this in one go, Riser Phoenix. I brought my hands close together, leaving only a slight gap between them, and summoned a tremendous mass of demonic energy. Then, without any delay, I launched it straight for him. That ball of raw power grew a tremendous size as it sped towards Riser. The strength of the blast was truly unbelievable. It must have been large enough to fill at least half the hall. Even I was taken aback. Damn, that's huge. Riser must not have been anticipating an attack of such magnitude, as he only left to safety rather than meeting it head on. That was just the chance I needed. 9. The clock is ticking. I had to hurry. I threw myself in the direction that I expected Riser to run. The flight unit embedded in the back of the suit of armor burst to life. In less than an instant, I was accelerating with an explosive speed. I couldn't as much move my body due to the immense G-forces, but I was closing the distance to my target with an insane rate. Riser, stunned, made no move to brace himself or respond. It's time to attack. At least that's what I thought. I couldn't move, however. I slammed straight into the wall. What a mess. That had been the perfect opportunity too. I managed to raise my arms to protect myself before making impact, so I took no real damage. There was, however, a gaping crater in the wall leading to whatever lay outside. Incredible. That was a huge crash, but my armor's totally fine. Realizing how durable this suit was, I wondered if perhaps I could collide with my opponent without hurting myself. 8. There were only 8 seconds left. I rose to my feet, brushed off the fragments of the wall that were stuck to me, and turned back to Riser. After that last attack, he was more on guard this time. A rainbow aura encircled Riser. The tremendous energy raging around him made my skin crawl. "You red dragon punk, you've done it now. I didn't want to say this, but you're nothing more than an animal, a freak. I'll kill you in front of your beloved master Rias." Riser roared, his wings with pure flame enlarging with explosive force. Fire whirled around him, bathing the hall in scathing heat. Onlookers conjured barriers to shield themselves. If those flames had come into contact with the guests, they likely would have been reduced to ash. "I am the House of Phoenix. The flame of the immortal firebird burns within me. I will reduce you to dust." Riser, his whole body wrapped in a blistering mass of roiling flames, charged towards me. That silhouette of flame morphed into a shape of a gigantic bird. Its wings were born of unrivaled fire. Letting them touch me was clearly a bad idea.
"Flames of the immortal phoenix can damage even my dragon male. You don't want to take too many hits from him."
"Thanks for the heads up, Drake." Unfortunately, I had to meet Riser with everything I had. Rias was watching. There's no other choice. "What makes you think some pathetic embers are gonna beat me?" I cried out as I charged towards my opponent. The flight unit on my back propelled me forward at an immense speed. As our fists struck each other's faces, an entire hall shuddered with the force of the shockwave. There, in the center of the venue, we began laying into each other with one strike after the next. Every time Riser hit me, the force of the impact reverberated through my body. The heat was almost unbearable. Believe me when I say it was hot as hell. If not for my armor, the flames winding around that bastard's fist probably would have charred me to the bone, or worse. I was scared. I wanted nothing more than to flee to safety. I didn't want to die, and the more we traded blows, the greater I sensed the difference in ability between us. The second I lost my armor, I was going to be like an ant wrestling an elephant. In the end, I was just a low-class demon, while Riser was a high-class one. Perhaps sensing my fear, Riser intensified his flames. "Are you afraid of me? You better be. Without your boosted gear, you're nothing. If you weren't hiding behind that set of armor of yours, you would have been dead before my fist even reached you. You hear me? Once you take that thing off, you're useless." He could say whatever he wanted, so what if he was right? It was true that without the gauntlet, I was nobody, but that wasn't gonna stop me. 7. Riser was fighting to win, no matter the cost. Fear had taken hold of my body. I wished with everything I could, I didn't have to go through this. There was no way but forward, though. I pulled out a certain object that had been hiding in the back of the gauntlet. I slammed my fist straight into Riser's face with a cross counter. The force of the strike sent him hurling backwards. "You think that will hurt me?" Riser suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood before he could finish what he was saying. My last strike had dealt him with a lethal blow. That was only natural, of course, given what I had clutched in my hand. I opened my palm and revealed it. "A cross? What are you doing with the cross?" Riser cried in shock. It wasn't just him either. Alarmed screams rang throughout the hall as spectators realized what I was holding. Yeah, items like this were anathema to demons. I had been grasping the cross in my fist when I punched Riser. The cross was what I asked Azia for, before I had gone after Rias. I had kept it hidden until the time was right. 6. I boosted the power of the cross with my sacred gear when I hit you. An enhanced holy attack like that ought to be super effective no matter how high class you are. If I'm right, not even the immortal phoenix can recover from that kind of damage. "Are you insane? Crosses bring nothing but raw agony to demons like us. Not even your dragon armor should be able to protect you from..." It was in that moment that Riser seemed to finally realize my left arm was different now. Perhaps it hadn't been that obvious at first sight, given the dragon mail that encased my body. Careful inspection revealed the truth quickly, however. The armor was solid and inorganic. My left arm, however, pulsated ever so slightly, as a living thing would have. You gave your arm to that thing in your gauntlet? Is that where those lunatic powers come from? Riser asked, incredulous. I did. I offered my arm in exchange for a brief use of his strength and powers. My left arm is now an arm of a genuine dragon. No cross will affect it. My arm had been a necessary sacrifice for me to receive Drake's absolute power. It was payment so I could stand head and shoulders above Riser in battle. My gauntlet was now part of my arm itself. Don't you realize you'll never be able to go back to the way it was? So what? 5. We could talk all day long, but the countdown was still ticking. If all it takes was one of my arms to bring the press back, then that sounds like a pretty good deal to me, I said. Riser's eyes widened in disbelief. You're insane. So that's why you were so eager to come after me. You've gone and done it now. I'm actually impressed. Awestruck even. Which is why... He paused there, his fiery wings growing yet again. I'm going to destroy you with everything I am. The Firebird sped towards me, his whole body, and even the air around him ablaze. No way am I gonna let you win after all this. 4. I focused all my energy into the cross clutched in my hand. The only thing I needed to deliver was a single overwhelming strike, using that crucifix, filled with everything I had. My fist slammed straight into Riser's oncoming punch. Our two ferocious powers collided. On impact, there was a brilliant flash of light that momentarily blinded me. At the same time, I could feel myself growing lighter. It was a similar sensation to when you take off your raincoat after arriving home on a rainy day. There was also a burst of incredible heat that rushed past me. The blistering air tore through me. I had never experienced anything as dry or intolerable before. By the time my sight returned to me, I realized what happened. My armor was gone. The scale mail had been protecting me had vanished. I was exposed. The only part of it that remained was my left arm, and that was only because it now belonged to the dragon himself. The cross had been flung from my hand from the last attack, and it lay on the floor a short distance from me. Hey, Dragon Emperor, what's going on? It hasn't been 10 seconds yet. Why did my armor deactivate? Don't tell me my arm didn't even buy me that much.
No. The price you paid for my power was sufficient, but you lacked the essential proficiency to wield it. You lacked training.
Are you serious? Telling me all that training with the others still wasn't enough?
That was but a drop in the ocean that is the lifespan of a demon. A demon's strength comes from decades of exercise and dedication.
I really wasn't in a mood for a lecture. Just let me use the armor again, I pleaded. What's the cost this time? My eyes? My legs? You can have them.
As you are now, you can't hope to use it again in such a short span of time.
Basically, the dragon was saying I was weak. Why was I always falling flat right when I was the most needed? All I wanted to do was win just this once.
The moment the armor's energy was released, I transferred some of my power into the jewel on your arm. It may be enough to temporarily overwhelm Riser Phoenix, but that will be all. Defeating him with this high level of regeneration ability will require...
It'll require either beating him down over and over or defeating him with a single blow, I thought back.
Indeed. Unfortunately, what you have left is not sufficient to pull off either of those options. Even in your boosted state, you are far from possessing enough raw power.
Riser grabbed me by the collar, choking me as he lifted me up in the air. He flashed me a menacing grin as he wrung my neck. I couldn't breathe. You've done well for a pawn. I'm impressed. I've never expected you to come this far. Thanks to you, I've been able to experience the power of a dragon firsthand. You really might have bested me with another year, even half a year of training. It didn't sound like Rias was joking. His gaze was deathly serious. Another half year? In that case, hold off the engagement for 6 months, I thought, wishing I could said those words. Rias' clothes were torn and his body was bruised and battered. Just as I expected, recovering from an attack strengthened by a holy cross took considerable time, even for him. His fiery wings had diminished in size, a testament to just how badly I'd hurt him. There's no need to feel ashamed. Once I'm married to Rias, I'll train you myself. I'll make a powerful demon out of you. Shut up, I screamed in my mind. I definitely didn't need this guy's sympathy. Now then, it's time to close your eyes. I'm going to put you out for a little while. By the time you wake up, the ceremony will be over. You don't want to suffer any more than you already have, do you? I'm not a sadist, so I'll make this quick. Rias looks sure of his victory. Had I lost? No. I would never forgive myself if I let that happen. Make sure you bring the president back with you. I will. I made a promise, Azia. I will be the mightiest of pawns. I will. I won't let you down, Prez. We're going back home together, Rias. Akano, Kiba, Konako, Azia, and I will all be there to welcome you back. I pull a small vial from my pocket. You need water to extinguish flames, right? What I had in my hand was a container of holy water. I had prepared it in addition to the cross before making the jump to the engagement celebration. This kind of thing wouldn't normally have much of an effect against a high-ranking demon. If spectators throughout the hall had been able to see what I was holding, the most they would have done was laugh. Rias's expression, however, turned suddenly pale. He knew about the ability I developed during the raiding game after all. You understand exactly what's coming, don't you, Riser Phoenix? His grip around my neck tightened. He was crushing my throat. Before he could squeeze the life from me, I pushed a stopper from the vial and hurled the contents at my opponent. Then I poured my energy into the holy water, greatly increasing its effects. Not even a high-class demon would have been able to withstand that. Boosted gear gift.
Transfer!
My increased power flowed from my gauntlet into the water as it struck Riser. No! By the time Riser tried to counter what I was doing, it was too late. The power flowing through the holy water multiplied its destructive power exponentially. The sound of water evaporating into steam rang throughout the hall. Riser's wings of flame began to writhe and shrink, until he could no longer maintain their form. The holy water seared his body, sending smoke billowing up with an awful, scorching sound. Riser's grip on my neck weakened, and I quickly pulled myself free. Seriously, he almost snapped my head right off. Riser was thrashing around in agony from what the holy water was doing to him. Is he going to die? I wondered out loud.
No. Even with its cleansing effects boosted, holy water won't be enough to kill a member of the Phoenix clan.
Ah, alright.
Nonetheless, the power of the holy water will consume not only his physical strength, but his willpower as well. Even for a creature that regenerates from its own ashes, he will need time to recover from this blow to his spirit.
The smoke and steam issuing from Riser's body gradually dissipated. When it was all settled, the man was lying on the ground, wounded and weary. His clothes were in tatters. With my new dragon arm, I picked up the cross from where it landed on the floor, gripped it tightly, and funneled my power into it. At the same time, I poured onto it the contents of the second vial of holy water that I brought with me. Azia told me that demons were vulnerable to both the cross and holy water, so boosting the power of both at the same time ought to be pretty destructive, I'm guessing. Riser, already reeling from my last attack, made a pained face. I glanced around to make sure there was enough room that I wasn't about to cause a problem. Kiba told me that I need to widen my vision and take in opponents in their surroundings. I focused my aura on the demonic energy flowing through me into a single point, transformed it into dragon energy, and poured that into the cross and the holy water.
Transfer!
With this, I now had an overwhelming divine power at my disposal. Akano told me that I need to gather my demonic powers inward and let the aura flow throughout my body, to concentrate my thoughts and to feel the wave of my energy. Even someone as useless as I am can do that. I adjusted my stance, readying myself to deal the final blow to my opponent. Koneko told me to aim for the center of the body and strike like I'm trying to carve a hole in them. It was my training that had taught me that. Yeah, I had internalized it all. It had come to use. With everyone's help, I was going to bring Rias back. As I readied my attack, Rias began to panic. Hold on. Don't you get it? This engagement is for the future of all demon kind. Can't you see we need this? I don't know anything about that, but I do remember what happened when you knocked me out last time. The Prez was in tears. She was crying. She was crying during this party too. That alone is reason enough for me to come down on you hard. My fist, empowered by the cross I was holding and the holy water I had poured onto it, slammed straight into Riser's stomach. Riser stumbled backwards, coughing up blood. I can't lose. Not like this. With those final words, he fell flat on the ground, unable to get back up. I glanced down at Riser's motionless body before approaching Rias. A figure leaped between us. It was Riser's sister, Ravel. She glared at me in silence, as if wanting to issue some kind of complaint. I, however, pointed at her with my dragon arm and said, "If you have something to say, go ahead and spit it out. I'll take you on any time." Perhaps because of the gravity of the challenge, she backed away. I walked right past her without so much of a second glance, then stood before Rias. "Let's go home, Prez," I said with a warm smile. "Issei." Next, I turned my eyes to the person standing beside her, Rias' father. He had the same crimson hair as his daughter, and he sported an aristocratic, dandy-like appearance. As I faced him, I gave him a deep bow. "The Prez, my master Rias Graia, is coming back with me. Please forgive my impudence, but I will be taking her home now," I declared. Rias' father said nothing in reply. Instead, he merely closed his eyes in quiet resignation. Sir Zex had been seated on Rias' opposite side earlier, but now was nowhere to be found. I would have liked to thank him, but that was going to have to wait till the next time I met him. Taking Rias' hand, I pulled the piece of paper that Graia had given me from my pocket. She instructed me to use the magic circle in the reverse side once I reached Rias. As promised, another magic circle was already lighting off a brilliant glow. Suddenly, a giant winged four-legged creature leapt out of it. It looked like it was something a cross between an eagle and a lion. "A griffin," I heard someone murmur in the background. "Does Graia want me to escape with the Prez on the back of this weird thing?" I climbed onto its back and took Rias' hand to help her up behind me. The griffin let out a powerful roar before beginning to flap its great wings back and forth as it took off of the gaping crater that I had earlier smashed through the wall. "We'll see you back in the club room," I cried out to the others, who waved in return with a smile on their faces. Atop the griffin, Rias and I soared deep into the underworld. "Lord Phoenix, I'm very sorry that the engagement between my daughter and your son ended this way. I know it was rude for me to ask this, but would you perhaps..." "Say no more, Lord Graia. This would have been a good marriage between two fine, pure-blooded demons, but it would appear that all parties concerned may have been acting more out of touch than avarice. We both already have pure-blooded grandchildren to our names. Perhaps, being demons, we cannot help but desire the absolute best. Or perhaps we push this hard because of the hell we witnessed during the last war. No, I would say that I merely forced my own desires on my daughter. Hyodo, that was his name, am I correct? I would like to thank him. What my son lacked most was knowledge of defeat. He placed too much faith in our clan's unique abilities. What happened today will serve a valuable lesson for him. The Phoenix was not invincible. If this engagement party has done nothing more than to teach him that, then I am grateful, Lord Gremory. Lord Phoenix, your daughter has a fine servant in her charge. I suspect the underworld would not be lacking excitement in the months to come. Yet I would never expect my daughter to acquire something so terrible. The Welsh Dragon. I wouldn't have believed that such fearsome thing truly existed, had I not witnessed it with my own eyes. Then it won't be long until... Indeed. In fact, it may already be out there somewhere. The Vanishing Dragon. It may be only a matter of time before the red meets white. Unlike in the human world, the sky in the demon realm was a rich purple in color. It gave me an uncanny feeling, yet it somehow managed to put me at ease. Perhaps that was because I was a demon. As I stared up at the strange sky, Rias' hand brushed against my cheek. "Silly Issei," she said with an embarrassed smile. Judging from her expression, she appeared relieved to have finally escaped that painful predicament. That look changed, however, when her gaze fell upon my left arm. Her eyes sorrowful, she touched it lightly with her fingers. I suppose that made sense. My arm was covered now in red scales, and it sported razor-sharp talons and overall rough, bestial appearance. "Your arm... You gave it to the dragon in exchange for that power, didn't you?" "Yeah, but it was worth it. What's one arm from a useless guy like me compared to the ultimate power? Thanks to that deal, I managed to take down Riser and bring you home," I replied with a forced smile. Rias' eyes, however, glistened with sadness. "It won't go back to the way it was, you know." "Ah, that could cause a few problems. I guess I can tell people it's a cosplay item? It may raise a few eyebrows at school though, huh? What's wrong?" "Azia will cry when she finds out." "Ah, she's right. Why am I always bringing Azia to tears?" "And you do understand that while you may have broken off my engagement this time, it won't be the last time we hear of it, right? If you keep this up..." Rias trailed off there, her voice steeped in sorrow. I pushed myself to laugh. "Then I'll do my right arm next time. And then my eyes the time after that. I'll do whatever it takes to protect you. Nothing will stop me. I'm your pawn after all. It's my job, right?" At that moment, something pressed against my mouth. Rias had put her hands around my neck and pressing her lips against mine. A kiss. It wasn't a particularly deep one, and while it didn't involve either of our tongues, I could sense the depth of Rias' emotions through those soft, delicate lips of hers. The rich suppleness of her skin and the beautiful aroma of her crimson hair brought my thoughts to a standstill. After remaining that way for close to a minute, Rias backed up and let out a soft chuckle. It was right about then my brain started working again. A kiss? Rias just kissed me? And I kissed her? It felt like my head was going to explode. "That was my first kiss. In Japan, that's considered quite a monumental moment, isn't it?" Rias asked. Right. Hold on, your first kiss?" I was taken aback by a confession. I mean, a first kiss was supposed to be incredibly important for a young woman, right? Really? With me? "What you did was certainly worth a kiss, wouldn't you say? Think of it as your reward," Rias replied with a bright smile. What is even happening right now? I thought in disbelief. Everything I'd gone through had all been worth it just for that kiss alone. "Speaking of firsts, do you really want my virginity that much?" "I do," I responded once before catching my breath. Perhaps I've been a touch too honest. It was the truth though. There was no doubt that I wanted it. So much so that I've been willing to blur it out in front of those people back there. "You really are upfront about lewd things, aren't you?" Rias looked a little troubled by my admission, but she was still smiling. Truthfully, I kind of want to apologize for being obsessed with that kind of thing. As I mentally reprimanded myself, Rias began to pat my cheek, laughing happily. Thank goodness, I thought. It came as no small relief to see her smiling like her old self again. New life. And that is why I, Rias Gremory, will be moving in with you. Thank you for your guidance and your encouragement, Mother, Father. We were in the living room of the Hyoto residence, my house. The crimson-haired beauty sitting beside me was greeting my parents, while the blonde-haired beauty on my other side looked ready to break down in tears. Azia didn't appear to be taking this development that well. After everything that happened in the demon realm, Rias had suddenly announced that she would be coming to live with me. At the time, I hadn't realized exactly what Rias meant, but she'd been quite insistent. I wanted to deepen my relationship with my dear servant, she said. I had to wonder if my house was really the best place for that. Perhaps I had just no affinity for comprehending how high-class demons thought. Thus, the engagement between the houses of Gremory and Phoenix had been called off. The press seemed happy about it, and really, that's all I wanted. Supposedly, Rias had taken his first ever defeat pretty hard. He'd even withdrawn from the public eye. Oh my, now, first Azia, now Rias. It's like we have two daughters now. My mom had taken a liking to Azia ever since she moved in with us, so she was overjoyed at the prospect of having another young woman in the house. Likewise, my father was crying tears of joy. Yup, this is like a dream come true. A household of girls. I would have killed for this back when I was a kid. Now it all makes sense. I suppose I was my father's son in that way. We even shared the same kind of dreams. As for the problem with my left arm, while technically it's still a limb of a dragon, Rias and Akino's efforts have forced it to return to the appearance of a human arm, so that it wouldn't interfere with my day-to-day. From what I gathered, it wouldn't return to its dragon form so long as we prevented the accumulation of dragon magic inside it. However, the act of dispelling that buildup had to be performed every few days. Sure, it was troublesome, but I'd been able to get the press back. Compared to that, the price felt relatively cheap. Plus, the way that Rias and Akino had dispelled the magic was incredibly erotic. I would have never expected them to do that kind of thing for me. I started thinking maybe this new arm thing was a good call after all. Drake had gone quiet after my fight with Riser. Even when I called to him, he didn't answer. There was a lot of questions I wanted answered. Just who was this white one he kept mentioning? It sounded like whoever it was, they were going to show up eventually. I suspected that I had to deal with that thing before long. Well, Issei, now that I've received your parents' permission, I will be living here from now on. I wonder whether you might carry my belongings up to my room, Rias instructed with a flick of her crimson hair. Okay. I'll help Issei, Ozzy said, following after me. Under her breath, she muttered, maybe the best I can hope for is polygamy, but that's a violation of the Lord's teachings. But at this rate, What does polygamy mean? I asked. Nothing, Ozzy replied quickly, averting her gaze. She's been in a bad mood ever since Rias arrived. Do they not get along? Now, Issei, put that over there, the pres instructed me the moment we reached her room. Okay. Issei, let's take a bath once we're finished. I'll wash your bag for you. Seriously? That's fine with me. You could do that every day if you like. If you're going to bathe together, then let me join you. Don't leave me out, Azia begged. No, Azia, stop. I wanted to cry out. If you start fighting over me, I won't be able to keep myself under control. I'm sorry, Azia, but That's how it is. Could this perhaps be a declaration of war on your part? Rias inquired. I don't want to lose. Why do things never go my way? Replied Azia. I could almost see the sparks flying between the two of them. Whether Rias and Azia, I just couldn't understand what went on in the minds of women. Will a harem even be possible at this rate? I wondered. There was one thing I knew for certain, however. My everyday life was going to get a lot more interesting.